It was the summer of 2012, and life had become an endless loop of work and sleep, with nothing to break the monotony. When the chance for a spontaneous road trip arose, it felt like an escape from the ordinary. 6 of us packed into a car, ready to leave Albuquerque behind and head to San Francisco for a celebration. The early morning sun lit up the empty highways as laughter and excitement filled the air. The vast desert stretched out before us, promising adventure and memories. We had no idea that this journey would become one we would never forget. The journey through Arizona started with high spirits and a sense of freedom. The car sped down the endless highway, surrounded by towering red rocks and the shimmer of desert heat. The sun blazed overhead as the hours passed, turning excitement into quiet contentment. Inside the car, conversations faded, replaced by the rhythmic hum of the tires and the occasional crinkle of snack wrappers. Everyone seemed to settle into their own thoughts, unaware of the growing fatigue. As the landscape rolled by, we pushed forward, determined to make it to California. Little did we know, our journey's calm wouldn't last. By the time we reached Barstow, California, night had already fallen. The once bright atmosphere of our road trip gave way to a quiet exhaustion. The town itself seemed eerily still, its streets dimly lit and empty. We were desperate for rest and pulled into the parking lot of a small, rundown motel called the Economy Inn. The neon sign buzzed and flickered, casting an unsettling glow over the scene. As we stepped out of the car, we noticed 2 men standing nearby, their movements quick and deliberate. They were speaking into walkie-talkies, their voices hushed but urgent. It was clear they were undercover cops, though their presence didn't inspire confidence. Instead, it heightened the uneasy atmosphere. Inside, the motel clerk informed us that most of the rooms were booked, but there were just enough left for our group. Despite the unease that gnawed at us, we took the rooms without hesitation, too tired to care. Gabe and I shared one room, while our friends bunked in another. As we settled in, I couldn't shake the feeling that the motel held secrets hidden in its dark corners. The air felt heavier here, as if something unseen was watching and waiting. The room was small and unremarkable, with a faint musty smell that hinted at its age. Gabe and I were too exhausted to care about the details. The bed creaked under our weight as we lay down, the dim glow of the parking lot light filtering in through the thin curtains. Outside, the occasional sound of a car passing broke the silence, but inside, the room felt unnervingly quiet. Sometime in the middle of the night, I woke abruptly. At first, I wasn't sure why, but then I heard it whispering. 2 distinct male voices, low and deliberate, carried through the darkness. They spoke of robbing us, their words chillingly clear. My heart pounded as I realized it sounded like they were inside the room. I froze, every muscle locked in terror. They whispered about searching our bags, and then their tone shifted. They mentioned me, their words turned vile, discussing things I couldn't let myself fully process. I was paralyzed, desperate to scream, but unable to find my voice. Gabe lay beside me, still as stone, seemingly asleep. I wanted to wake him, but fear held me captive. The room felt suffocating, as though the darkness itself was alive. The whispers grew louder, more deliberate, each word cutting through the suffocating silence of the room. They moved closer, their voices so vivid it felt as though they were standing just inches away. My chest tightened, my breathing shallow and erratic as I lay frozen, unable to move. Every sound, the faint rustle of fabric, the subtle creak of the floorboards amplified in the darkness. Then, I heard it. The chilling shift in their tone. They weren't just talking about robbing us anymore. Their words turned vile, filled with intent that made my skin crawl. They whispered about hurting me, violating me, and leaving no witnesses. The fear was paralyzing. I told myself if I made no noise, maybe they'd just leave. But the thought of doing nothing was unbearable. With every ounce of courage I could muster, I screamed. My voice pierced the silence, raw and desperate. Gabe shot awake, startled and confused. He jumped out of bed, turning on the light. In that instant, the whispers stopped. I gasped for air, trying to explain what I'd heard. Gabe checked the room. The windows, the door, the bathroom, even under the bed. Nothing. No signs of anyone. but I knew they had been there. The bright, cold light of the room revealed nothing but emptiness. Gabe checked the door and windows, both locked. The bathroom, closet, and even under the bed were all clear. But the silence felt wrong, as if the whispers still lingered, unseen but present. Gabe tried to calm me, but his words couldn't shake the fear clawing at my chest. I sat frozen on the edge of the bed, replaying the voices in my mind, their sinister tone, their vile intentions. The room felt oppressive, suffocating, as though whatever had been there hadn't truly left. I dreaded the thought of closing my eyes again. The next morning, as we loaded our belongings into the car, I recounted the terrifying experience of the previous night to the group. Gabe stood beside me, quietly nodding as I described the whispers, the fear, and the strange emptiness of the room when the lights came on. The others listened intently, their faces a mix of shock and unease. Then Estella, her voice hesitant, spoke up. She said she had a vivid dream that night, one that felt more real than any she'd ever had. In her dream, she was alone in the room, standing near the bed. The closet door creaked open, and out stepped a girl with long black hair covering her face. The girl moved silently, drifting toward the bathroom. Estella followed, her dream self unable to resist the pull. When she reached the bathroom, she saw the girl hanging lifelessly from the ceiling, her body swaying slightly in the still air. As Estella finished, Anna chimed in, her voice trembling. She had woken to the sound of soft footsteps and had seen a shadowy figure, a woman, glide past the bathroom door. The figure vanished, leaving only a cold, oppressive air in its wake. None of us could explain it, but we all felt the same. Something was wrong with that motel. Anna's voice quivered as she described her experience from the previous night. She had been lying in bed, restless from an unease she couldn't quite place. The room was cloaked in darkness, and the faint hum of the air conditioner was the only sound. But then something shifted. A faint noise came from the direction of the bathroom, a soft creak, like a door slowly moving. She sat up, her eyes adjusting to the dim light. At first, she thought it might be Estella, but when she glanced over, Estella was sound asleep in her bed. Anna's heart began to race as she caught sight of a figure in the shadows, a woman with long, dark hair. The figure moved slowly, almost gliding, passing the bathroom door without a sound. Anna froze, unable to look away. The figure disappeared into the darkness, leaving a heavy, chilling presence behind. She called out to Estella, but her voice was barely above a whisper, trembling with fear. When Estella didn't respond, Anna turned on the bedside lamp, desperate for light. As the light filled the room, the figure was gone, but the oppressive feeling remained. Anna couldn't explain what she saw, but it left her shaken to her core. As the morning sun rose over Barstow, the oppressive weight of the previous night still lingered. None of us could shake the eerie experiences we had shared. The motel parking lot, once cloaked in unsettling darkness, now seemed dull and lifeless under the harsh daylight. We hurriedly loaded our bags into the car, eager to leave the economy inn behind. I couldn't stop replaying the whispers in my mind, the sinister voices that felt so real. Gabe stayed silent, his normally calm demeanor replaced by a quiet unease. Estella and Anna exchanged nervous glances, their own encounters adding layers to the dread that hung over us. As the car pulled away, I glanced back at the motel. The flickering neon sign buzzed faintly, and the cracked windows reflected the glaring sun. But then, in one of the windows, I saw her, a shadowy figure with long, dark hair, standing motionless. Her face was hidden, but the weight of her gaze was unmistakable. I gasped, my stomach knotting with fear. When I looked again, the window was empty, the figure gone. We drove in silence, each of us haunted by the events of that night, vowing never to return to that cursed place again. The Economy Inn faded into the distance, but its ominous presence lingered in our minds. The motel stood desolate under the midday sun, its cracked walls and flickering neon sign a testament to its decay. In one of the windows, the faint outline of a woman with long, dark hair appeared, her face obscured in shadow. She stood motionless, watching as if tethered to the place by something unseen. As we sped away, an unspoken understanding settled among us. The whispers, the shadows, and the haunting figures weren't just nightmares. They were part of the motel's dark and sinister story. Under a starless sky, the drive-thru glows faintly, its neon lights flickering against the damp asphalt. Emily's friend's car rolls forward, headlights slicing through the eerie stillness. Ahead, a battered blue truck idles, its shadows stretching unnaturally. The silence feels heavy, an unspoken tension settling over the empty parking lot. The blue truck ahead vibrates with anger. Inside, a man shouts, his shadowed face contorted, hands slamming the steering wheel. The woman beside him retaliates, her voice sharp, fists clenched. Their words are muffled but venomous. The fluorescent light above flickers, casting jagged shadows across their distorted, tense silhouettes. The man explodes out of the truck, slamming the door so hard it echoes in the still night. He storms to the passenger side, yanking the door open with violent force. The woman kicks out, her foot connecting with his head, but it only fuels his rage. He recovers, his movements sharp and unrelenting, and lunges at her. His fists fly, striking her repeatedly, each hit accompanied by her screams of agony. Blood splatters onto the truck's window, dripping down like a grotesque painting. The fast food parking lot, once mundane, now feels like a scene ripped from a nightmare. The man steps back from the truck, his chest heaving as he adjusts his blood-smeared shirt. Slowly, unnaturally, he turns toward Emily and her friend's car. The light from the drive-thru reveals his face, or what should have been a face. Instead, there's nothing but a void, featureless and hauntingly empty. Emily freezes, her breath catching as the faceless figure tilts his head, as though silently asking, "Am I next?" The shadows around him twist unnaturally, distorting reality itself. Emily's friend whispers frantically, "Don't look, just don't look." But her eyes remain locked on the void staring back at her. The blue truck pulls away slowly, its taillights glowing like sinister red eyes that pierce the darkness. The distant sound of tires crunching gravel fades into a suffocating silence. Emily sits frozen, staring out the fogged window, her trembling breath the only sound inside the car. She glances at the faint reflection in the glass, and her blood runs cold. A shadowy figure sits in the back seat, faceless, its presence unmistakable. Her heartbeat pounds in her ears as she dares not turn around. The neon lights flicker again, casting distorted shadows. Somewhere in the distance, a faint scream lingers in the air. California highways, where every journey feels like a test of nerves. The sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues, but on the asphalt below, chaos reigns. Cars dart and weave, drivers pushing limits, honking horns echoing through the fading light. Among them, a lone driver grips the wheel tightly, their eyes scanning for danger, bracing for the next unpredictable move. It's not just a drive, it's survival. In this golden state of aggression and impatience, every mile carries the weight of tension. But tonight, one driver's ordinary commute is about to take a dark, unforgettable turn. It happened in an instant. A sleek black sedan swerved recklessly, cutting dangerously close. The driver's heart raced, hands gripping the wheel as frustration boiled over. A sharp honk and a raised middle finger followed, a split-second reaction to an all-too-familiar situation. But this time, the air felt heavier. In the rear-view mirror, the other driver stared back, their face obscured in shadows, unnervingly blank. The brief exchange sent a chill down the spine, an unspoken warning lingering in the air. On California's wild highways, such moments were common, yet this one carried an unease that refused to fade. The black sedan wasn't gone. It lingered, its headlights like unblinking eyes locked on the smaller car ahead. The tension grew with every passing second. No matter the lane change, no matter the speed, the predator remained, mirroring every move. The freeway's chaos blurred into streaks of light, but the focus stayed sharp on the relentless pursuit. Heart pounding, the driver clung to the wheel, glancing nervously at the rearview mirror. This wasn't just aggressive driving. It felt personal, intentional. Trapped in the labyrinth of speeding cars and blinding lights, escape seemed distant, the hunter closing in with every mile. The freeway gave way to an off-ramp, a fleeting sense of relief quickly replaced by dread. The driver glanced back. The black sedan followed, its headlights glaring like silent threats. At the stoplight, the car idled, trapped by the unyielding red glow. Suddenly, the other driver emerged, a faceless figure moving with unsettling purpose toward the stranded vehicle. The seconds stretched into eternity as panic surged. The driver's hands shook, eyes darting to the light, silently pleading for it to change. But the shadow grew closer, footsteps echoing through the quiet night. Escape seemed impossible, and terror pressed in from all sides. Just as the shadow reached the car, the light turned green, a salvation as sudden as the danger. The car in front sped off, clearing the path. Without hesitation, the driver slammed the accelerator, tires screeching as the vehicle bolted forward. The faceless figure froze momentarily, then turned and sprinted back to the black sedan. The night blurred in the rearview mirror, headlights and taillights streaking like frantic memories. Every turn of the wheel was a desperate attempt to escape the hunter. Though distance grew, the fear remained, an unshakable presence in the driver's pounding heart and trembling hands. The streets grew quieter, the chaos of the freeway left behind. Yet the driver's grip on the wheel stayed tight, knuckles pale under the dim glow of passing streetlights. Glancing in the rearview mirror, they saw nothing but darkness, the black sedan seemingly gone. Relief crept in, but unease lingered like a shadow in the corner of their mind. The reflection staring back from the mirror was shaken, wide-eyed and pale. Each turn of the deserted road felt endless, every shadow along the curb a potential threat. The silence wasn't comforting, it was oppressive, leaving questions unanswered and fears unresolved. Safe at home, but far from calm, the driver sat on the edge of their bed clutching a small can of mace. The room was dim, the faint hum of distant traffic filtering through the window. Shadows crept along the walls, closing in as if echoing the night's events. Their hands trembled, the weight of what could have happened sinking in. Each memory replayed vividly, the headlights, the faceless figure, the narrow escape. It wasn't just fear, it was a warning. The mace felt like a fragile shield against a world where danger could manifest in an instant, without reason or face. The night seemed calm, but calmness can be deceiving. The car rested in the driveway, its engine finally quiet after a harrowing ordeal. Inside, the driver tried to exhale the tension, but their chest remained tight, their heartbeat a constant reminder of the night's events. Outside, the street lay shrouded in darkness, the faint glow of distant streetlights barely cutting through the shadows. The air was still, unnervingly still. From the window, they stared out into the void of the street, searching for assurance that the nightmare was truly over. But then, a flicker of movement. Far off, almost hidden in the darkness, the faint outline of a car came into view. A black sedan idled at the end of the street, its headlights off but its presence unmistakable. The driver's breath hitched. Was it the same car, or was their mind playing cruel tricks? They squinted, their pulse quickening, but the car remained motionless, like a predator lurking in the shadows. Its silhouette was menacing, an unspoken threat that refused to be ignored. Minutes passed like hours, the driver frozen in place, watching the unmoving specter. Finally, the sound of an engine broke the silence. Slowly, deliberately, the car began to back away, disappearing into the darkness, leaving no trace but the lingering dread it carried. The driver's knees buckled, and they sank onto the edge of the bed. The danger felt over, but the feeling of being watched, of being hunted, would not fade. The faceless figure was gone. For now. But the question remained, was this the end of the nightmare, or was it just beginning? The shadows outside seemed to whisper the answer, though the driver dared not listen.